Just Imagine, a new podcast series by Imagine Theatre.
Hello again, how are you? My name is Martin Ballard and welcome to the 5th episode of this series of podcasts from Imagine Theatre, one of the UK's biggest producer of pantomime and children's theatre. Now, if you've listened to the first 4 episodes, you'll know by now that we take you behind the scenes at the company, meeting the people who create and star in Imagine Theatre shows.
For more information, go to their website at www.imaginetheatre.co.uk.
Now, don't worry if you missed any of the previous episodes, you can catch up with any of them at any time. In episode 4, we met the set and costume designer Mark Walters. In this episode, I've been joined by the singer and actress, winner of the 10th series of X Factor, and my panto buddy for the last 4 seasons, Sam Bailey. How are you, Sam?
Hey, morning.
So, first of all, what have you been up to? How have you kept yourself busy, given that we're not able to do a great deal?
Do you know what? It's been really, really strange because my life has just consisted of being like a bit like a Groundhog Day. I don't think I've ever had that many baths in my life in the last year, just to pass the time for an hour. I'm getting into a routine now, and going out of the house for longer than like an hour at a time, it's a bit nerve-wracking. It just feels really strange. It's been a long old year, I have to say.
Yeah, and of course, you've got homeschooling and other things to consider as well. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. I might warn you, by the way, that at any point during this podcast, Miley might run in asking for some help, and the dogs might start barking.
And we have a tumble dryer that's going off on its own, so I don't know if you can hear that.
All right, tell us a bit about your formative years, Sam, because I think it was clear from a very early age you had a definite talent, and X Factor was one thing, but you were winning talent competitions as a kid as well, weren't you?
Yeah, I won quite a few. One of the biggest ones I won was at the Frog and Nightgown on the Old Kent Road, which I believe isn't there anymore. It was £1,000, the prize money, and I was 18, so that was 25 years ago, and that was a lot of money back then. And I used to have a Barclays bank account, and I remember getting the bus up to Sidcup High Street every day to just go to the cash point outside and just look at the zeros on the screen. I remember that. I mean, I couldn't get the money because it was like, it took a week for it to clear. So I was like up there every day just looking, has it cleared yet? Because it's not like it is now where you can look on your phone. And I just remember vividly thinking I was rich because I had £1,000 in my bank account, which my brothers said that they had to have a cut of. But yeah, it's another story.
I mean, back in those days as well, there was obviously music in the family. Both your dad and your granddad were singers and in bands, weren't they?
Yeah, so my granddad was a singer. He was known as a singing window cleaner back in the day. And my dad was in many bands. He was a drummer, a musician. I pretty much got my craft from my dad, I'd say, on the musician side. Coming home from school, dropping my bag, going straight to the drum kit or the piano, and that was my life as a kid, really.
So at that age, do you remember the first time you ever went to see a panto?
Yeah, we used to go to a panto in Orpington in Kent, and my nan and granddad used to take us. It was like at a village hall. It was always a part of our Christmas kind of tradition. We went quite a bit when we was younger, but I remember going to this one in Orpington, like Chislehurst, I think it was, and it was just a sort of like a really small panto, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it as a kid, going to panto. It's one of my fond memories of my childhood was pantomime, yeah, definitely.
And what was the original attraction for you then, as a child? What made it so special?
I think the interaction plays a massive part for me, going to panto and being involved, almost like 3D kind of thing. So they come out into the crowd and you really feel a part of the panto, like a part of the show, because you're involved in it, and you get to shout out things. When you go to see a proper musical or anything like that, you've got to sit there and be quiet. When you go to a panto, it's like, oh no, you didn't, yes you did, and booing and hissing and cheering. It's just constant excitement from the moment that it comes on the stage. You just know something's going to happen. If you're not wetting yourself with laughter, you're like, shouting and screaming and getting a bit of a headache from it. But I love it. I absolutely love it.
And what about musical theatre and other theatre then, as you were growing up? Because you were involved up in Dartford, I think, weren't you, at the Miskin Theatre for a while?
I started my journey at Performing Arts School. And when I say Performing Arts School, it was like a council-run one. And he pretty much just had to turn up. I went to Bexley College, and it wasn't a very good course, if I'm honest. And then I went to the Miskin Theatre and joined there, and I wasn't there very long. And then I got a little job at Lakeside Country Club, Bob Potter's place, where they do the Embassy Darts every year. I got a job there as a support artist every Saturday. I was only like 17, 18, and I was singing there every Saturday for the likes of Jim Davidson, Joe Pasquale, Bradley Walsh, loads of people just being their support artist, and that's where I kind of learnt my craft, really.
Yeah, so one of the things that people criticise X Factor for is creating supposed overnight successes, but you'd already done your apprenticeship, really, hadn't you?
Yeah, I think I've earned my stripes. I've done many jobs, different jobs, not just singing jobs, but all sorts of different jobs, really. But I've tried everything. I've done everything. I've done the cruise ships, and it said in the press that I was on cruise ships for years. I was on the cruise ships for 2 years back in 1999, and not even 2 years, and I loved it. But if I hadn't have left when I left, I'd have probably still be doing it now, and I wouldn't have the life I've got now, because it does get quite addictive to wake up looking out of a porthole in a Caribbean country every single day is just stunning. But I'm never one to stick at one thing. I like to add strings to my bow, so there were so many things that I wanted to do. Thankfully, I left when I left and got to do loads of different things.
And over the years, you've done lots of things within the entertainment industry, but you've done a lot of other things outside as well. And X Factor played on the fact that you worked at Gartree, but
Yeah.
you've also, you've played football at the highest level, and you're one of those people, you can turn your hand to anything and take it to the best possible level, aren't you?
Well, I just like to, like I said, adding strings to my bow and trying myself at different things and testing myself. That was Miley going out, by the way. She just came in, sneaked in. I think she's gone to the fridge because she knows that I can't tell her off because I'm in the middle of a call. And she's gone to the fridge and got chocolate and gone back out into the pub.
We ought to just say, by the way, that you have your own pub in the back
garden. I have my own pub in the garden.
You've not just sent your young child to go to a corner pub down the road.
No. No, we built it during lockdown, so yeah. That was something great that come out of lockdown, is our little pub in the garden.
Tell us a bit about the football then, because we've spoken about this quite a lot. You're a massive Leicester City fan, but again, you played for a number of clubs, didn't you?
Yeah, so I started playing football when I was 12, 13, probably 14. I was playing for a couple of youth clubs, and there was a boys' football team. I had long hair down to my bum. I wanted to play, and they said, Sam, the only way you can play for us is if you cut all your hair off. So I went home and cut all my hair off and had curtains, the old 90s curtains for a few years, and played for a boys' team as a ringer, as you call it. I was a boy because my name was Sam, no one really knew. Played for them for a little bit, then I got found out and then I ended up trialling for Millwall and got in, started playing for Millwall, then went on to Charlton, QPR, Crystal Palace, West Ham, London Women, and then I left it for a bit, and then when I moved up to Leicester I was like, I really want to start playing football again, so I went to Leicester City Ladies and I played for them for a bit. So this was before Leicester Women came about, so Leicester City Ladies was the team that was affiliated with Leicester City, and then Leicester Women started and they became affiliated, but that was after I'd left. So I've supported Leicester ever since I moved to Leicester in 2000, and I still like to get my boots on every now and again for celebrity matches, so it's all good.
So talk us through Christmas 2013, because that changed your life. The whole X Factor journey is the key word that people keep talking about, but it wasn't just about winning that, it was a Christmas #1. Some of the biggest artists in this country and the world have never had a Christmas #1. That whole experience must have been just incredible.
I think I was more excited about having my own mug that said official charts #1. I was really excited about that. I don't get out much, but I've got some really, really good memories of that show, and I know that there's lots of stuff going on at the moment about Psycho and the X Factor and the management companies and stuff. And not that I'm sticking up for anyone, but I had a really good experience on that show. It was tough. You didn't get to see your family, and they were more interested in the artist than they was anything else. But, I had the best time on that show. I met some fabulous people, and I'm not just talking contestants, I'm talking crew, people that work behind the scenes, stage managers, makeup artists, all these people that I have the utmost appreciation for, and I'm still friends with some of them now. I think because I was a bit older, I kind of soaked it all up a bit more wisely than some of the younger ones did. And I've done what I set out to do, and that was to get a nice big extension on my house and all these things that I wanted but couldn't afford before I went on the show. So
you mentioned the friends. Sharon Osbourne, I think, is one of the ones that you kept in touch with, but there are so many of them, and you must come across people on the X Factor that you've met along the way while you're working today, even in Panto, for instance.
There's quite a few people. I mean, that's definitely a stepping stone in the right direction when you come off of a show like that. You get to do Panto, and I've wanted to do Panto for many, many years. And, you do come across other people that are doing Panto that was on the X Factor, and it's so nice to see because it's something I look forward to. I genuinely looked forward to. The first time I did Panto was at Aylesbury with the wonderful Andy Collins, and to go on and still be doing it now is something that's just amazing, and I love that. And I'm gutted I didn't get to do it last Christmas, but it's something that is I reckon I'm still going to be doing for the next 20 odd years, 20, 30 odd years.
Well, let's talk about that problem that was caused by COVID-19, because it's devastated so many people's lives in so many different ways. More than 12 months of nothing now. And I know you've done everything you can, and you have worked as much as you possibly can, but all your plans, everything that you were planning to do, Panto being one of those, just literally stopped.
There's a lot of people out there that I know of that have lost houses, that have been evicted, that have literally got nothing left, and they rely on Panto. It's just put a massive, massive spanner in the works, but obviously we've all had to comply with the rules, and to be honest, it's kind of been a little bit of a blessing in disguise, because it's kind of made me stop and appreciate what I've got. And I think a lot of people would say the same, appreciating your kids, spending time with them, and actually stopping and having a rest, because I do go at 100 miles an hour, as you probably know anyway. So it's been nice to appreciate what I've got and sit down. And I'm a spender, so I now know that I don't have to spend so much money, so it's kind of made me appreciate not having to spend loads of money all the time, and going out and going, right, we need this, and we've got to go here, and we've got to go to this. And because we've all kind of budgeted, I now know how much money I can live on every month, and it's way less than what I was living on before. So it's kind of preparing me for the future, and I think I'll be a lot better. I'm terrible with money anyway. Craig's the one that's good with money, so it's really been a bit of an eye-opener in more ways than one.
So the upside is that you've had a chance to spend much more time with the family. The downside is that you are one of the most driven people. I don't think your batteries ever run down. Always doing something. When you're doing one thing, you're doing 3 other things at the same time. So what sort of shock has that been to you, to not be able to do hardly anything?
I've slept a lot, Martin. I have. I've had afternoon nanny naps like you wouldn't believe, and it's been so nice. But at the same time, that horrible feeling in your stomach where you're supposed to be somewhere but you're not quite sure, and you go, I'm supposed to be here somewhere today, I'm supposed to be doing something, and you feel really on edge because you feel like you're supposed to be somewhere, and then when you look at your calendar, you're not, and you go, oh, I'll go back to bed then. It's really a real strange feeling. I had to go to Manchester a couple of weeks ago for some filming, and I got up there and I felt really anxious and out of sorts because I was so far away from home, and it just didn't feel right to me. So I know that there's going to be a lot of people out there that are so conditioned to being indoors, it's going to be a real struggle for them to get back out again. There's going to be people suffering from agoraphobia. I generally do feel that there's going to be a few issues with people when they go back out again. They're just going to feel like they need to go home because that's a safe place. I definitely felt like that. So if I felt like that, then I know there's going to be lots more people that do feel like that. I don't know what's going to happen with the industry of people going away and stuff like that, because I generally felt more comfortable when I was at home, and I couldn't wait to get home. It was really bizarre. But I'm looking forward to getting back out there and doing it, Martin. You know what I'm like, and, you know, getting back out on the road. I'm quite lucky that I've been doing lives every single week, you know, from my lovely loft. I've probably done over 70 now, every single week on Facebook, just so that I'm singing. Because there's so many people that haven't even done that. So when they go out to sing again, their voices are going to need a bit of a warm-up. So yeah,
you're absolutely right. I think as well that if you look back a year, I mean, hopefully we're going to be coming out of this soon. We're keeping our fingers crossed anyway. But a year ago, this was a novelty, wasn't it? We were doing weekly panto quizzes on Zoom. Everybody was zooming out with everything. But now that novelty's worn off, hasn't it?
Yeah, we was doing the cast of the show that we was in, Aladdin. We was all getting together, and I had all these different bingo nights and quizzes with all different groups of people. I had fat friends, we did quizzes with them, and it was like, oh, I'm all quizzed out. But I did get to learn some really interesting facts, so...
Yeah, I remember, actually, because we were doing so many different quizzes everybody was doing. We'd actually do a panto quiz, and you'd get loads of questions right, and we'd say, how the hell did you know that? And you said, well, they came up in a quiz last week.
Yeah, because I've literally... In fact, still on my chalkboard, I've got my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and it says Little Dreams Foundation, Zoom, then a quiz... And then Wednesday, Facebook Live in the Loft. Thursday, bingo. Friday, Little Dreams Foundation. Then a quiz at 7 with Aladdin. And this is still up on my board in my kitchen. It was just really, really busy. Full of quizzes, full of Zooms, full of people chatting. And if you look back, it's been a year. It's absolutely crazy.
Now, one thing you mentioned when we were talking a moment ago was Fat Friends, and you did Vampire Rocks as well, in terms of musical theatre as well. And that was something that you've probably done before, but maybe not at that sort of level. And that was a fantastic opportunity to expand into other areas, wasn't it?
Yeah, so obviously comedy acting, doing Fat Friends. I made some of the closest friends ever on that show. Obviously, apart from you, Martin, obviously. But, you know, Kevin Kennedy is one of my closest friends. I know I can call him up anytime with any problems or any advice that I need. He's just absolutely brilliant. And the cast on that show was just insane. And I learnt so much from Kay Mellor. And, you know, the cast, Jodie Prenger was like a mentor to me. She was just insane. And then doing Vampires Rock, working with some of the most amazing musicians I've ever met in my life. You know, I absolutely loved getting on stage and just rocking out every night. And it was brilliant, you know, and I miss it. I really do miss it. I want to do a rock tour. So that's kind of the future, is for me to put on a tour doing like an inspirational rock tour. So I do stuff from Phil Collins, do stuff from Queen, you know, some old soft rock stuff, but all male rock legends that my dad was inspired by, and just carry on that. That's kind of a plan that is kind of in the making at the moment. Do a bit of Fleetwood Mac and, you know, the Eagles, and just rock out on stage, get behind the drum kit kind of thing. So
yeah, well, you surprised a few people on your tour, didn't you? Because you played guitar and then you played drums. And also, I think people talk about you and your fabulous belt of your voice, but you can sing absolutely anything, and that must be a joy because you can put anything into a concert.
Yeah, so when I do a show, I'll do a bit of musical theatre, then I'll do a bit of rock, then I'll do a bit of pop, and then I'll change my voice for all different things. I can do like Frankie Valli, kind of doing stuff up really high. I'm really lucky, and I think that's from years of listening to different artists, and I've got quite a wide variety of people that I'm inspired by. So it ranges from Kenny Rogers to Frankie Valli to Queen to all these different, they're all on completely different levels of talent. So I listen and I close my eyes and I can pretty much step into their shoes, if you will. But you know, I'm very lucky to get given the opportunity to do that, you know, and perform and show people what I can do.
So when we come out of this, and hopefully, you know, theatres will start to reopen soon, but by the end of this year, you know, we may be able to get back on stage in panto and other things.
100%.
What sort of plans have you got? Because have you had offers of things? Are you likely to go back into a studio and record an album? What's going to happen?
Well, I was due to go out to Nashville like during the year that we had the lockdown, obviously didn't get to go. I was supposed to go out to LA in June last year. So there was loads of different things that were coming, and I have got some exciting things that are going to be happening. But fortunately, Martin, I can't actually speak about them because I'll get in trouble. But yeah, I have got some really exciting things that are happening, something that is going to be for everyone, and I'm really looking forward to it. This is probably the biggest thing I've done in the last, say, 5 or 6 years, I'd say, since the X Factor. I'm like a balloon that's been blown up so much. I'm ready to burst and tell the world, but I can't. And I have to say, I really feel for everybody in the industry, and especially the panto industry, because I know how hard they work all year round. Especially Imagine Theatre, and I know the guys at Imagine, and I know that how difficult it's been for them and how much it's broke their heart that they haven't been able to get anything out. And I'm so proud to work for such an amazing company, and I have to say for the last 3 or 4 years it's just been the most amazing time doing panto, and I'm forever grateful for the guys for giving me the opportunity, because I remember at the beginning of panto, the first couple of years I was a fairy, and I'd come on and I'd wave my wand and I'd go off again and I'd see you guys all having the fun running around on stage, and I said, please can I have a comedy role, please can I do something different? And for the last 2 years I've had a comedy role, and you know, I got a Great British Panto Award for that, and I've just had the best time, and I just want to say thank you to them for allowing me to sort of come out of my shell a little bit and not be the fairy that comes out and just does a few lines, because I really want to be funny and I really want to come out and just take the limelight a little bit, Martin.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But I mean, you know me and how different. You've worked with me for the last 4 years with Imagine, and you know how different it's been for me in the last 2 that I've done, from being a fairy to being so shy and being, you know, the pirate role in Peter Pan, and I've just loved it. I really have enjoyed being able to do the comedy part of it, and that's where my heart is, making kids laugh and be happy. I'm yet to do a villain, and I don't know if I'm going to enjoy it because I don't like being booed at. I don't think I've ever been booed at, so...
I'll tell you what, there's no doubt you could do it, though. I have to say that. Listen,
I probably could. I mean, they get the best songs, don't they, the villains, so...
Yeah, I have to say, giving them some exciting news, and you've also told us about, you know, your stuff with Imagine, but somebody sounded like they were bored with that story in the background, because I can hear, is it the dogs or is it Craig snoring?
No, it's the dogs. I've got a pug, and he can't really breathe properly, so he just sits there and goes... It's not somebody snoring, trust me.
Okay, well, I don't want to upset the dogs anymore, but we've got 3 final questions for you. The first is this: what's your favourite panto title?
If I'm going by one that I've been in, it'll be Peter Pan. That was the best experience I've had in panto.
What about if you were going to see a panto then? What's your favourite to watch?
I would have to say Cinderella. I absolutely love the story of Cinderella, and the Ugly Sisters are like my absolute fave, so I'd say Cinderella.
And obviously that sort of joy of panto is now different when you go, because you've got kids of your own to see it with, and that's a joy in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Tommy is not massively into panto. As you know, he got diagnosed with autism last year, so panto's not really his thing, but he does find it funny when he goes, but it's getting him there. But when he goes, he'll laugh his head off when he's there, but it's a bit of a struggle with Tommy. But Miley is just at the perfect age for panto right now.
Yeah.
She absolutely loves coming to panto, and when I've obviously been doing the shows, she's come and met people backstage. She adores panto. She dresses up. My family have come for the last 5 years on Christmas Eve. I've always booked them in for Christmas Eve, all wearing their Christmas jumpers. It's just perfect. I love it. Absolutely love panto. And like I said, Peter Pan was the funniest time I've ever had on a show. I'm pretty sure I went through quite a lot of tenor ladies during that performance run. I really did. Just that boat scene in Peter Pan with you guys. I'd be in the wings every single night, every single day, watching that, just crying with laughter. Absolutely brilliant.
So the second question, and I've got a few that I can remember of my own here for you, but When did it not go all right on the night?
Well, I'm dying to hear what you've got to say. There has been a few sort of mishaps on stage that I can remember, but I think this one kind of involves me knocking myself out at home. And on New Year's Day, I was up in my loft trying to find a suitcase for my daughter because she was going skiing with the school. And the ladder that folds down from my loft folded down and knocked me clean out on the floor. And I was out cold for about an hour. Ambulances turned up, even the army turned up, and I even actually full-on weed myself whilst I was knocked out, which was really delightful because there was some hot army men upstairs whilst I was there, so I had the best time ever. And I went to hospital in an ambulance. I could hear people saying, "Oh, that's Sam Bailey, that's Sam Bailey," and I was really panicking that people would get word that I was in hospital and I was on one of these neck brace things before actually telling my mum and telling my family. So I got Craig to sort of take a picture and put something up, and it went a bit viral. After a few days of being at home, I had really bad concussion. I came in, I said, I'll be fine, I'll come in and do the show. And it was 2 shows a day, wasn't it? So, and as soon as that spotlight hit me, I had the worst headache and I couldn't open my eyes. So I'm in the wings and I was coming out every 5 minutes to do my lines at the side with a big puff of smoke, and the spotlight was really upsetting me. And I did that show and I had to say I need to go home because I just wanted to sleep, and I'd never experienced concussion quite like it. And Imagine had to get the understudy to do the role for a bit, and then you got this wonderful lady that come in and took over, and I only did 1 show a day. Imagine were great. They was like, no, what we'll do is we'll get you to do 1 show a day. And the funny thing is when I did finally come back to work and I went into my dressing room, and the lovely crew had got every single ladder from the building, and I mean it filled my dressing room. And I opened the door and they came in behind me and went, "I'm so sorry, Sam, we tried to stop them, and then I got a guard of honour for the last show with all the ladders literally over the top, so I had to walk underneath all these ladders. For me, that was my biggest mishap, because I know it wasn't on stage, but I just remember being mortified, being at the hospital, having to tell the company manager that I've got severe concussion and I'm in hospital and I couldn't do the show, because I personally feel an obligation to be there, and I physically couldn't do it. I was so grateful that the company were just brilliant, just pulling things in together, and it was so professional how they did it all. It was amazing. Everyone clubbed together, and I thought that was it. My career's over. I'm never going to work for Imagine again because I've caused so much chaos. And they had me back the following year. I was like, all right, then I must be good then, even with concussion. So. Yeah, it was good. But come on then, tell me what yours was.
Well, no, I was just going to say the good point about the finale walk down with all the ladders for you to come through was, it sounds like an in-joke, but it was an in-joke that everybody got. The audience knew exactly why they were there. Everybody knew the story. Yeah. You were the only person who was shocked by it, and everybody else thought it was hilarious.
It was brilliant, and I got a massive round of applause, one of the biggest I got during that whole run. I'm now very cautious when I go up in my loft.
Well, here's a couple of other things.
Go on then.
Nothing major on stage, because I don't think anything major has happened on stage. You are a bit of a giggler, and you like to play a prank or two. But the other one that is a biggie that nobody in the audience ever knew about was in your dressing room with a slow cooker, because you are a regular caterer for the cast and crew. Everybody would come to your dressing room for casserole or whatever, but you had a bit of a mishap.
I had a coffee machine and everything.
Yeah, but you didn't put that through the sink, did you?
Well, yeah, so basically I've done this for the last 4 or 5 years. I've got a big slow cooker, and I would cook. It was schools week really, because we had shows in the morning, then it was lunch, and it was straight into another show. So I would say, right, okay, bring a bowl, bring a spoon, I'm going to do beef stew in the slow cooker. I'd bring all the stuff backstage and put everything in, cut my potatoes in my little table and everything, get everything ready. And you could smell it down the corridors, couldn't you? And it was
smell it on stage.
Oh, it was beautiful, beautiful smell.
Yep.
And when it's all finished at the end of the day, I put hot water in the ceramic insert of the slow cooker and left it on the side in the little washroom area that we had. And in the morning I'd come and I'd try and empty it, but there was still some like beef stew around the edge. So as I've gone to pour the water away, it slipped out of my hand and went through. My daughter Brooke was in the dressing room at the time and she heard the noise. I just looked down and I could see the floor through the sink. There was just a massive hole. I was just mortified, absolutely mortified of what I'd done. And the general manager came in. He said, "We've had this band and that band here, and not one of them have trashed the Sam Bailey comes in and she trashes the dressing room." I was like, "I'm so sorry." He's like, "Don't worry about it." Well, they had to get a sink. Well, the year after that I came, it weren't the year after, I think I was there with Vampires Rock, they'd actually got that red and white tape and put it over the sink to say, "Do not use. Sam's not allowed near this sink." But they got a sink because it got discontinued, so they had to get a sink from the dressing room upstairs and bring it down to dressing room 1, which was I in dressing room 1 or 2?
I think you were 2, weren't you?
Yeah, I did trash a dressing room, accidentally.
Here's the final question for you. We've talked about you going to see Panto. We've talked about you being in Panto. We haven't mentioned the fact that Panto brought you and Brooke together on stage for the first time.
Yes.
But why is Panto so special for you?
Panto is special to me because it symbolises family. It really does. There's something in it for absolutely everyone. The double entendres that kids don't quite understand, or the funny bits that the kids can get involved in. And it's probably the only time that we as people on stage get to see families and parents let go a little bit, getting involved in, water fights. I mean, I'd go out into the audience with one of those big massive water pistols and you'd see parents pick up their kids and use them as shields when you've got the water pistol. And so I'd always pinpoint that particular person and I'd get the kid and I'd give them the gun and get them to squirt their parents. It's probably the only time they're never going to get told off because they're in a room full of people. It's just so nice to see parents let go, and the smiles on people's faces just show that. And I think more people need to come to Panto with their families, and not just their mum, dad, brothers, sisters, nans, granddads, aunties. I mean, I have about 20 odd people come on Christmas Eve to come and see Panto, and we all get together afterwards and put pyjamas on at the house, ready, and open Christmas Eve boxes. It's like a tradition. But for me, Panto is all about letting go and just enjoying yourself and allowing yourself to just relax and have fun and laugh and join in and interact. And it symbolises togetherness and family for me, and it's something that I will encourage my children's children to do, and I will probably end up taking my grandkids as part of a tradition like my grandparents did to me, because I just think that Panto is something that's been going on for generations, and we need to keep that going. When you talk to people from other countries like America and they go, "What's Panto?" and you're like, you wouldn't understand. It's our thing. It's amazing, and I just, you want to tell the world all about it. Christmas is my favourite time of the year anyway, but when we get to November the 29th and we start those rehearsals, and it's just brilliant. I love it, and I've really missed it. I really have, and I can't wait to get back at it.
Yeah, we all have, so let's hope it's back this year.
100%.
I don't want to keep you any longer because obviously Buster's snoring and Miley wants some more chocolate, and your tumble dryer needs emptying and so on.
Yeah,
so
it does. I've got beans on toast half eaten on the side. Brother's just rang me.
Yeah, I thought it was your phone.
Yeah, my phone was vibrating. I've got it on silent, but it was vibrating. My brother's just rang me, so.
Well, listen, Sam, thanks so much for talking to us. Great to catch up with you and hope to see you soon.
Honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure, honestly. And for anybody out there that's listening to this, we will get back at it soon. We really will. And all will be revealed as to what I'm going to be up to. But I can't say anything just yet, but it's going to be exciting.
Brilliant. Sam, thank you once again. Next time, I'm going to be chatting to the award award-winning theatre producer, arts advocate and chief executive at the Eden Court Arts Complex in Inverness, James Mackenzie Blackman. Again, don't forget you can still listen to any of the previous podcasts, so make sure you subscribe through your favourite podcast app. But for now, that's it from me, Martin Ballard. Make sure you join me next time for episode 6 of Just Imagine, the podcast series from Imagine Theatre.
Thank you for listening to the latest edition of Just Imagine, the podcast series from Imagine Theatre. And you can find out more by going to www.imaginetheatre.co.uk.